Hey, I'm Mark, and this project we're building a table. It's going to be for my daughter who's building a new house. This table has the illusion that it's 2 inches thick. Only the 6-inch outer layer is actually 2 inches. The rest is 1 inch. Just saves weight and lumber. This video I'll be showing you some other things I build, coffee tables as well, some of the scraps, and also a neat, easy way to filter the air to keep the dust down in your workshop. Well, let's get started. I wanted to show you a neat homemade air filter I made. This is a reusable, cleanable air filter. I just put my blower down in a box, cut a little hole where it blows out. You just simply put that on there and it gets all the dust out of my barn. I keep my barn heated and cooled because of all my woodworking projects, and it just keeps the dust down. Well, next I'm going to take these two boards back to the sawmill. I need to cut it down to about 3 inches. It's going to be the rails under the table, maybe 3.5 inches. And then the little bit of drop that I'm going to have left, I use all my small drops and stuff, and I also make coffee tables. Here's one of many that I've made. This one will have a concrete top. I'll show you another one I have stored in the other room a little later. Well, let's get to the sawmill. Well, that's the sawmill, and this is our next batch. I use about 2 trees a year. This tree was right around 100 years old. Out of that 8-foot length there, the smaller piece, I can get 1 table and maybe half a coffee table, and out of the bigger end here I'll get probably 2 tables and a couple of coffee tables. And I cut it down about a month ago. It has to age a while, and I knocked the bark off yesterday, and you can see it's still oozing sap, so it's not ready to be put in the sawmill yet. You have to let it age a couple months or so until the sap stops oozing before you try to run it in the sawmill. Well, let's get this cut. I'm going to take 1 1/16 inches off the top. That'll be used for the rails of the coffee table, and I want to get down to about 3 inches for the rail of the table. That'll be the rail of the coffee table. We're going to leave it rough cut. It will be sanded. That seems to be what people like nowadays. And you can see it's golf cart sawmills still cutting like butter. Well, let's get this down to 3 inches. Alright, next we're going to run this one side here through the planer. I've already run 2 sides through the joiner and one side, the opposite side through the planer. This is the only sawmill cut side left. We'll run it next. This table's not going to have a rough finish. That's going to be the stretcher rails of the frame of the table. Next, we're going to get the top done, and the 2 outer boards are going to be planed down to 2 inches, so that we'll get the illusion that the whole table is 2 inches thick, and then the middle part's going to be 1 inch. Well, let's get this planed. Boards milled and cut to length, and the drop pieces I took and run them through the planer so that they'll get a perfect match to give the illusion that the entire table is 2 inches thick. What I'll do is, this is the top of the table, so what we'll do is glue this to each board. It should flush out right here, and it all flushed out and clamped. Then when you're looking at the edge, all you see is the grain and it's that thick, even though from just the middle section is 1 inch thick. But we'll get all that glued up and clamped together. Next, I'm lightly drawing a pencil mark, 8 inches on center. I'm going to put biscuits in to help me with the alignment. The biscuits will make sure that my top of my boards are flush when I put it all together, and it gives a lot of strength when we're in gluing it. Flip this board around so that I cut the slots, and we'll flip it back. Alright, you can see all the biscuits in there really tight. Not gluing them in. Just going to dry fit it to show you and to check my alignment. Make sure all is well. I'm going to use a pocket kreg tool on the back side to screw them together, and I'm going to stick it right where the frame is so that the frame will hide the screw marks. You can see, I don't know if you can see that or not, but that is perfect alignment. Since I don't have a drum sander big enough to run this thing through, using the biscuit joiner like that, it does saves you a lot of work when you have to sand it later. Well, let's get the rest of it done. I got all my biscuits cut. Next, I flipped all the boards over and I drew lines where I'm going to put the kreg tool, and we'll go ahead and get that set up and drilled. Well, we got the table glued up and flipped over. Now, to give the illusion that it's 2 inches thick, we're going to glue in some boards that are 4 inches this way, and it will hide all those screws and make it look thick. I've already got the other end done. And then the next thing we'll do is we'll place the legs on in the side rail. Let me get the camera on them. Alright, so next we're going to place the legs in the corners, roughly where they go. And we'll put the end rail in. And I will put some kreg tool pocket screw holes in on each side, and another fastening system as well. But what I wanted to show you is that we're going to flush this out right here so that when you look under the table, you don't realize that there was been a step down. It all looks like it's 2 inches thick. And on this rail on the side, it's going to be the same way. It's going to flush out right along here. So again, when you look in there, it just looks like the table's 2 inches thick everywhere. Then we'll add some stiffening braces to hide all these screw holes just to the frame. Let's get the legs attached. The legs are 28 inches long since the table has a 2-inch top, so we end up with 30 inches overall, using a 2.5-inch the screw here. We'll get all that screwed together, and then we'll put in our corner blocks and bolt the leg in. Alright, next we're going to install the block that strengthens this. I took a chisel and I put a flat spot on it. Just cut this at 45 degrees, and we'll screw it into place. Then we'll take and drill a pilot hole into this and put our lag bolts. We want to add the cross braces. I left a little bit of slack, allow for wood expansion, and I'm going to hide my other screws. I'm not gluing any of this. I didn't glue any of the leg parts. If for some reason 10 years from now or something, the leg breaks, it would be a replaceable part. Or if my daughter decides that she wants a different style leg, we could, as long as it's 4 inches here at the base, she could change the style of a fluted leg or tapered, or now that's the finished table upside down, and I just burned my logo in it. Next we'll get it flipped over and sanded, and my daughter will have to pick out what color she wants it. Alright, next I got it flipped over. I'm going to use a wood conditioner, pre-stain conditioner, and you got about 2 hours to apply it. After you apply it, to apply the stain. And right now I'm just going to stain the bottom, the side, and the bottom here. And then after that, give it 2 coats, and then after 2 coats of stain. Then after that, I'll flip it over and do the side and the top. And then the legs are going to be painted white. This is just it's a conditioner that will let the stain apply more evenly. For the stain, we're using a special walnut. It's a 224, and I am going to stain it twice. I'm not going to sand it. That's the color my daughter picked out. And you let it sit on about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then we'll wipe it off. Wait a little while and stain it again. Alright, next I've given it 2 coats of stain, and it's been 24 hours. I'm going to use a lacquer for the top, and it is by Deft. I'm going to give it 3 coats. It's a satin, so it won't be shiny. And you don't have to sand between coats with this product, so kind of like that. And the last thing we'll do is paint the legs white. Just apply a real thin coat and make your brush marks with the grain. It's really tough and durable finish. I like it for tabletops. The last one I did, I used a shellac. It's probably the hardest finish you can put on, but it's shiny, and I used it in my guest cottage because it's probably going to take a lot of abuse over the years. But this will be a very durable finish as well. Well, next we're going to paint the legs white. I'm using an Amy Howard chalk paint. One step. I will give it 2 coats. And you let it dry an hour or 2 between the coats. And here's the coffee table. It's a concrete top. There's a sample. And of course it comes in any color and size you want. Well, there's the finished product. Turned out good. I really like the size of the legs and the thickness of it. 2 inches thick. This looks really good. I think my daughter picked really good colors. Well, I appreciate y'all watching. We'll see y'all on the next project.